Hey guys, in this video we're going to be looking at how to scrape company data from LinkedIn company profiles. So first things first is we'll be looking at just the basics of how to go about scraping company data from LinkedIn. Then we're going to quickly set up a very basic spider, look at how the spider code is structured, set up a proxy so we have no issues with the LinkedIn anti-bots blocking us. And then we'll move into actually running the spider, seeing the results of that, and then we'll go a little bit further and we will use all the URLs from a file which will tie into the scraping jobs from LinkedIn tutorial, which is also on YouTube, which you can check out. So we'll be kind of following on from that, getting the URLs that we've already collected from all the different job postings and looping through all the URLs from a file and getting all the company data that have all those different job postings. Okay, so let's quickly look at how the job page is structured on LinkedIn. So we've got all the jobs, we've got the companies then obviously associated with each job. So I'm doing this currently in incognito mode, so I'm not logged in. This is all publicly available data. Okay, so this is just a jobs page, but now we want to look at companies and the company data. So what I want to do is just right click, open new tab, and I'm just selecting the name of the company here. So then we have this page. Now LinkedIn is stopping us from scrolling the page. They want us to sign in or sign up, but we can get around this just by right clicking, going to inspect element, and then if you go to this where it has the overlay class and you just remove these guys, at least now we can see what's going on. And then so if you scroll up to the top, click the no scroll here and just untick these guys, we should be now able to scroll the page, and we can finally remove this bit at the bottom. If we just find this div and delete it. So I just hit backspace on my keyboard. Okay, so here on the company page we've got a quick summary, the followers, the address, about us section, the website, industry, company size, headquarters, and founded, and they've lots of location details, and then they have a bunch of other posts which we don't need to look at for now. So all the data that we want to find out about the company is here, and we can find the CSS selectors, as you guys I'm sure know, just by inspecting the element. And here we've got all the stuff we need to extract the CSS selectors so we can get the data we want. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of the company page itself. We're fully logged out and I'm just in incognito mode to show you guys that this is all publicly available data. So the next step is we're going to quickly get a Scrapy spider set up and get a proxy hooked in so that we have no issues with getting blocked when we're actually doing our scraping. So I'm going to go ahead and download this basic Scrapy project, which we have available for anyone to download. I'm just going to git clone this guy. So just copying the link here and opening up VS Code. This can be anywhere on your computer, and I'm using VS Code as my code editor, but you guys can use whatever you want. And now I'm just going to do a git clone using git to clone the project into my folder, and now I have the basic project downloaded. And the next step is just to follow the cheat sheet at the bottom of the basic project and install the Python virtual environment, which we can just paste in the code there, and then to activate the environment as well. So the Python virtual environment is just a folder basically where all this stuff like Scrapy can be installed into without having an impact on any other Python libraries that you have installed on your machine. Okay, so I'll now activate that and do pip install Scrapy. And then we can just see the Scrapy list work and list our spider. Okay, that's fully installed. Let's just run Scrapy list. No, we're not in the right folder, we just need to go into our folder. And Scrapy list gives us quotes returned. Brilliant. So the next thing is just to install the proxy. So as I mentioned, we need the proxy to bypass the LinkedIn antibots that they have. The proxy we're going to be installing is the Scrapy proxy, and you can get this for free. Set up a free account, and once you set up a free account, you'll have an API key which you can then use to get 1,000 free credits, which is enough to use for this tutorial. And if you guys go ahead and do that now and then come back once you've got your API key, I'll just be skipping ahead to installing the proxy SDK. So the next step is just we'll pip install the Scrapy proxy SDK, and we'll do that now. And once that's installed, we'll just be adding these 3 lines to our settings. So I've just copied those. I'm going to go to my settings file, and I can just paste that in now. As you can see, here is where you put in your API key. So I'm going to just do that now. I'm going to paste in my own free API key, and the proxy is enabled as true. And the only thing we need to change in the settings is this changes to false. I think that's all we need for now. And the next thing is going to be to actually update our spider code. So now if we go into the spiders folder and open up quotes.py, we'll just get rid of the existing code for the moment, and we'll be pasting in our own code for the spider. So for this, the code I'm going to be using is going to be available in both an article and on our GitHub as well. So you can download the fully completed project, or you can follow along in the article if you want more explanations and further in-depth reviews as to why certain things were done. We have that available too. So I'll show you just quickly. We have our LinkedIn Python Scrapy scraper here, and it has 3 different spiders, one for the profiles, one for jobs, and one for the company profiles. So the first thing we want is just the name of the class, and it's as simple as just calling it LinkedIn company spider. You can call it whatever you want, that doesn't matter. And the name of our spider itself, which is just LinkedIn company profile. And then we're going to have our start request function, and we're going to have the initial company pages that we want to scrape. So the company pages, these are the 2 companies I've just got for now, the 2 URLs. So Brain Trust and Centerprise are the 2 company URLs I've copied in from LinkedIn manually. And in a sec, we'll look at how to actually read thousands of URLs from a file. So this is just if you want to manually add in a bunch of different companies, but there's obviously lots of different options available. Okay, so we've got our company pages, we've got our start request function, which just kicks off as soon as Scrapy starts up. So Scrapy is going to start this start request function. Then we've got our index tracker here, which we're setting to 0. We're using this to keep track of which of these URLs we're currently scraping. So it's set to 0 because the first item in a dictionary is 0. The next item is 1. So it starts off at 0, and then we're saying the first URL we want to scrape is company pages, company index tracker. And that's the first URL we have here, and we pass that into our Scrapy request function here. and then we pass in the index tracker variable so that we can keep track of which page we're currently scraping. And then the next part is the parse response function. So we're going to go and do that now. So let's just create that underneath. So we have parse response, which gets called when the request comes back from LinkedIn. So when the data comes back, it hits this function. The response is the HTML and the CSS that we get back from LinkedIn. Then we keep track of this index tracker. So we extract this from the meta, which we pass in here. And then I've just got a little print statement here, which just shows us in the logs when we're actually doing the scraping, okay, we're on page 1 of 2, basically, or page 2 of 2, just so we can see in the output how many pages we have to scrape and how many pages we're already through the process. Then we have an empty company item. We're going to then be yielding this company item, so returning the data. And to start off, I've just got the name and the summary here. So this name and summary, we get those by getting the response back from LinkedIn and then doing .css, open bracket, and then the CSS selector of the data that we want. So we get this top card layout entity info h1 by going to our page here, hitting inspect, and then if you can see here, top dash card dash layout underscore title, and that is h1 here. So it's a h1 tag and the class is top card layout underscore title, and we're asking for, okay, Scrapy, give us back the Ascend Analytics text in here. So that's just the name of the company, but we're asking Scrapy to give us back the text in this top card layout entity info h1 CSS selector. So that's where we get that, and then I've just added in here, we use the .get function on that, and I've just added in a default of, if you can't find this item on the page, instead of erroring out, just give us not found. And then I've added a strip function at the end to remove any extra spaces that might have been saved by accident on LinkedIn at the end or at the start of the text itself. So that's also how I get this summary section. Obviously the CSS selector here is a little different. It's a H4 and it's a span instead of the H1. So again, we can just go back, and if we scroll down, we see H4 is here, and that's the summary, and it's got a span tag inside it, and we're asking for the text inside that span tag. So that should get us the summary. And then the next bits we look at taking out are things like when the company was founded, how many employees there are, and the industry it's in. So on the page itself, I'm going to, for now, ignore the About Us text here, but you can take whatever you need yourselves. And I'm going to pretend that we want to scrape data from 1,000 companies because I'm going to apply for a job in one of these companies. So I'm only going to want to apply to companies, let's say, where there's less than 100 employees. So for me, the useful data would be the company size, obviously. So we can see in here that these don't seem to have a specific class name for each of these. They all seem to have the same class name, so that could make things a little more complicated. So here we're going to look how best we can get back the data we want when all the class names seem to be the same. So we're going to see what all these lines have in common. They all seem to have an MB-2 class on each one of these lines. So we're going to ask Scrapy, okay, Scrapy, get us all these lines that contain this MB-2 class. And to make it a bit more specific, we can say, get all the ones that are inside this core-section-container __content. So all the MB2s inside this block here. So if we go back to our code, we'll just add that in now. And then we'll look at how we can actually single out those lines then. So this is just what I said there. We're going to look at this core section container class and get all the MB-2. I've just called that variable company details. So all these MB2s lines are going to go into the company details variable. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, since I wanted the industry is the second line here. So that corresponds to saying, okay, company details 1 is that industry line. And then I'm saying, using .css again, and I'm saying, get me the text-md class and all the text that is inside this class. And I'll show you why I have get all as well. So instead of just doing get, I have get all. So if we actually look at one of these guys, so we said we want this guy. So if we look inside here, we can see this text-md. So that's the class I wanted to take from it. But because there's 2 of them, I need to use this get all. So instead of just get, it's get all. And then I'm going to say, okay, get me the second item in this, the second text.md, which has software development, which is the industry text that I want. I don't want this industries text here. I want the software development part. Just as I don't want the company size text here. I want this 50 to 200 employees here. So for the company size, you can see it's the same thing. I'm saying, okay, we've got all the company detail lines. Get me the third line with number 2, and then get me all the text MDs inside this line 2, and then I'm saying, okay, get me the second text-md and strip that of any remaining white spaces on either end, just in case, and that is going to be the company size, the number of employees. And then it's the same thing with the year that the company was founded. I'm going to the 6th line using 5 from the company details. And if we check, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is founded. Yeah, that's when the company was founded. And instead of founded, I want 2003. So it's the same thing. And that will get saved into the founded section of this company item. And now the only other thing is I've added a try except around this block here, because certain companies might not have filled out all the data. So for example, they might not have put in the size, or they might not have put in when the company was founded. So for this example, now imagine I want to apply to the top 10 companies that have started in the last 4 years and that they have less than 100 employees. So if I was doing that, these 2 pieces of data would be very important to me. And without these 2 pieces of data, the overall profile would be kind of useless. So in that example, it is okay just to do a try except. And then if one of these pieces of data is not found by Scrapy, it's going to throw an error. We're catching the error, and instead of the whole spider closing down at that point, because we're catching the error, we're just going to print out, okay, we've skipped this company. We're not going to yield the company. We're skipping it completely because we have some details missing. So we're catching this index error in case one of these pieces of data cannot be found. So that's going to then get all the company data, and it's going to put it into this company item, and then it's going to yield this company item into either the terminal or into a file if I ask it to go into a file. So we should be able to run that and it should get us the first company. But if we wanted to loop into the second company, because we've got two companies up here, we've got two companies, so we needed to actually go into the next one as well. So to do that, we've just got another few small lines of code, and we're just going to add that in now. So again, this company index tracker, I'm saying, okay, we were at 0 at the very start. I want to increment that by 1. So I'm just adding 1 to it and I'm saving it back into the company index tracker variable. Then I'm doing a quick check of saying, okay, is there still one more page to scrape? So we're just checking if the index tracker is less than or equal to the length of this company pages, and just, so I've got this len here, which gets us the length, and I'm doing -1 so that we don't have an off by 1 error, because the company index tracker is starting at 0 and length starts at 1. So that's why we're doing -1 here. Okay, so if we do have another page available up the top, then I'm saying, okay, the next URL is going to be the second one here. And that's getting saved into next URL, and then next URL is being put into the Scrapy request function. And the callback is again the parse response, and we're making sure that we keep track of, again, the company index tracker. So that's why we put that into the meta object here again. So now that we have all that, we should be able to run our spider and see the results from the two company pages. So we're just going to go ahead and just do a Scrapy crawl and the name of the spider. There'll probably be an error. Yep, we'll just deactivate the environment and then go back up a level and reactivate our environment. Okay, and now we can go back into our basic Scrapy project and we can run that again and see what happens. Okay, so it seems to be running. And there is the summary, the name of the company, the industry, the size, and the founded year. So that worked correctly, and you can see here scraping page 1 of 2. So that worked, and we should get the second page any second now. Let's see, did we get the second page? Scraping page 2 of 2. The name, the summary, the size, and founded in 2010. And the industry, IT services and IT consulting. Perfect, so that worked exactly like we wanted. And if you want, you can add as many more URLs into this. And you can get those URLs just by going here and taking the URL from the top of the company page. So that's where those URLs come from. Now, in our jobs tutorial, where we scraped all the Python jobs, we scraped several hundred jobs, and we scraped the company URL that was associated with the job. So let's pretend, for example, that I wanted to find out more information about the companies that had Python jobs available. So in the jobs tutorial, we'll have hundreds of jobs and the companies with the company URLs. So I can have a JSON file with all these URLs already. So now we're going to quickly look at, once I have the JSON file with all the URLs, how can we actually get those URLs to be scraped using the same spider. So to do that, I already have this read URLs from jobs file function, and we'll actually go ahead and implement this function now. So I'll just go to the bottom of the page, and here I'll paste in my function. So the function is going to just, first of all, empty the company pages. It's going to just set this back to empty, and then it's going to look for a file called jobs.json, which is going to contain all this job information. So if you go to our other tutorial, you can check how you can create this file. And then it's going to open the file, and we're going to load the file into JSON format using json.load. And then we're going to quickly loop through the file, all the jobs in the file, and we want to make sure that the job has a company link. So if the job does not have a company link, then we'll add it to our company pages dictionary using the append function. So it's quite simple. It just opens up the jobs file and then loops through it and makes sure that we have the link available. And then the last step is just to remove any duplicate links, because obviously when we were looking at the jobs, you might have very big companies posting 20 different jobs. So that means that the company URL would be in the file multiple times. So we can just use the Python set function to turn the company pages into a set, which automatically removes any duplicates, and then we can turn it back into a list using the list function. And once we've done that, we should have no more duplicates. So we do this to prevent the spider from shutting down, because the Python Scrapy default is when it sees a duplicate URL, it says, oh, we've already seen this, we must be at the end, let's close down the spider. So that's why we do that. So it just puts all the company pages into our self.company pages, which we will then be using going forward for getting the first URL, and then doing the exact same thing that we did with just our 2 company pages here. So I'll just quickly show you guys the jobs.json file, and then we'll go ahead and run the spider again, but this time it'll be reading from that jobs file. So here we have the jobs.json file. This is the output of the other tutorial, which will also be linked in the description if you guys want to check that one out. So that just gets the job title, the job detail URL, and the important part for us is this company link here. So it's got the company name and this company link. And the only other thing we need to do is, as you can see, I've got a little error at the bottom here. So to get rid of that error, I just need to make sure that the file is correctly in JSON format. So it needs a closing bracket. You just make sure that there's a closing bracket and that there's no comma at the bottom, because it needs to be valid JSON, or else the JSON parser will give us an error. So that should be fine. So it's gone green, and we can close that. I should be able to just run that spider again. So Scrapy crawl LinkedIn company profile, and this time I'll output it into companies.json. So it creates a companies.json file for us, and it's going to put all that company data into this companies.json file. So that could also be a CSV file, so we could open in Excel and we could manipulate the data there as well if we wanted. So let's go ahead and run that. So it hasn't errored out, which is a good sign. And the next good sign would be that it scrapes all those URLs. So great. So here you can see now scraping page 1 of 245, scraping page 2 of 245. Okay, so seems to be all working exactly as planned. I'm just going to go ahead and shut down the spider now, because I don't want it to actually scrape 245 pages. 6 pages is enough. So I'm just going to go, or 7 pages rather. I'm just going to go ahead and close down the spider. Yeah, so as we can see, item scrape count is 8. And if we open up, we have 8 companies that have been scraped. So if I was then, to use this, I could say, okay, I only want to apply to companies with 50 to 200 employees. I could stick this into an Excel, or I could run another function just to pull out only the companies that have 50 to 200 employees, or only companies that were founded after 2010. So you can manipulate the data however you want it then. So I think that's the end of it, guys. I think this shows very clearly how you can scrape hundreds or thousands of companies from LinkedIn using a very simple spider. And if you guys get stuck on any part of this tutorial, please leave a comment and we'll do our best to help you out. Or if you have any other ideas for other sites you'd like us to show you how to scrape, please also leave that in the comments below. And we'd really appreciate if you liked and subscribed. Okay, well, I'll see you in the next video, guys, and thanks for watching.